Finally, after months of speculation, Sony has officially confirmed so many new features for the PlayStation 5. Oh, and by the way, it's called the PlayStation 5, which Sony finally said that's what the name of the new console will be. They talk about the release date, new controller, ray tracing, new UI, and of course, new PS5 games are even hinted at. Again, on a random Tuesday, Sony has decided to release a whole bunch of information to the public about their new console. So this video is going to cover everything that was announced about the new console, but also give you feedback on what exactly I think it all means. Because with the new Xbox Scarlett already being announced and having so many similar features, one begs to wonder which console is going to stand above the rest. And since Sony didn't come to E3 2019 back in June, Xbox has been the console with the most information and has had the attention of most gamers. But after today, Sony has taken the attention from gamers, and with some of these features, they have the right to. So let's dive into this information dump and see exactly what the PlayStation 5 is all about. But before I do that, if you like the video, hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. Now, as we all know, Sony hasn't said too much about the consoles since they had that random information dump back in April. And since then, it's been very quiet on the PlayStation front when it comes to games and hardware news, especially since they skipped E3 2019 and haven't had a real event for some time now. So when Sony came out today with so much information about the PlayStation 5, it took the gaming world by storm. And the first thing they wanted to announce was the name of the console and the release date. Here's what the article has to say about the name and release date. Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Jim Ryan is still ready to answer it. The console, he tells me, will be called PlayStation 5. It's nice to be able to say it, he says, like a giant burden has been lifted from my shoulders. So there you go, PlayStation 5 Holiday 2020. There you have it. Not only is the name PlayStation 5 like a lot of gamers have predicted before, but it would also come out Holiday 2020, just like the Xbox Scarlett console that will release around the same time next year, which will put both of these new generation consoles head to head. And like I've said before many a times on my channel, I love competition. So this makes me extremely happy to see both companies fighting for our dollar. But the next bit of information is a pretty big one. Back in June, Xbox announced that the Xbox Scarlett will have hardware accelerated ray tracing on the box. Yet back in April, Mark Cerny didn't announce this, and for months, PlayStation fans were wondering if the ray tracing on the new console will be software or hardware accelerated. Lucky for everyone, Cerny quieted those concerns when he said this. This is ray tracing acceleration in the GPU hardware, he says, which I believe is the statement that people were looking for. A belief born out of my own Twitter mentions, which for a couple of weeks in April made a graphics rendering technique seem like the only thing the internet had ever cared about. Now, this is pretty awesome to hear directly from the architect's mouth, because it's been something that a lot of gamers have been wondering about, and finally we can lay to rest the differences between the Xbox Scarlett and the PS5. They'll both have hardware accelerated ray tracing, which is something no console has ever had before. Next up is the SSD and Blu-ray disc player that will be attached to the new console. As we all know, the new console will have an SSD hard drive, which will almost eliminate loading times on both the PS5 and the Xbox Scarlett. Here's what Cerny had to say on the matter. If you look at a game like Marvel's Spider-Man, Cerny says, there are some pieces of data duplicated 400 times on the hard drive. The SSD sweeps away the need for all that duping. So not only is its raw read speed dramatically faster than a hard drive, but it saves crucial space. How developers will take advantage of that space will likely differ. Some may opt to build a larger or more detailed game world. Others may be content to shrink the size of the games or patches. Either way, physical games for the PS5 will use 100GB optical discs inserted into an optical drive that doubles as a 4K Blu-ray player. As you can see, he's talking about this new hard drive helping developers do what they think is best for the gaming experience, be it creating bigger worlds or even loading in certain textures at a far faster rate. Either way, it's something that has been missing from consoles for long enough, because SSD is a game changer and really brings a quality of life to the console gamer. But the little tidbit at the end is what grabbed my attention. Having a 4K Blu-ray player that can use 100GB optical disc is something that's a huge change, because currently the PS4 consoles can only use the 50GB discs. Not to mention the PS4 Pro can't even read UHD Blu-ray discs. So it's awesome to see them actually implementing this, even if I think they're a little late to the party with this one. But that's not all. On the PS5, you'll be able to install a single player mode of a game or the multiplayer mode to save space. For an example, if you want to play Uncharted 4 and you finish the single player, but still want the multiplayer mode, you can uninstall the single player mode from the system and keep the multiplayer mode available to save space. I think this is an awesome feature and something that has never been done before on a console unless you download 2 separate clients, much like Crackdown did. Now, the next bit of information has to be about the controller that will be launching with the new system. Now, I have to admit, I'm not the biggest fan of the DualShock controller that Sony has been going with almost every generation, so this bit of information is pretty important for me. And again, it seems they're going with the same sort of design, but with added tweaks. Here's what the article has to say. The controller, which history suggests will one day be called the DualShock 5, though Sony just says it doesn't have a name yet, does have some features Sony's more interested in acknowledging. One is adaptive triggers that can offer varying levels of resistance to make shooting a bow and arrow feel like the real thing. The tension increasing as you pull the arrow back or make a machine gun feel far different from a shotgun. It also boasts haptic feedback, far more capable than the rumble motor console gamers are used to, with highly programmable voice coil actuators located in the left and right grips of the controller. This new haptic feedback sounds very interesting considering it's something that will bring more immersion to our game. And this word immersion has been thrown around by both companies, and it's something that both want to accomplish, giving us the most immersive and different experience when we turn on either console. And this new feedback on the controller does make me a little intrigued to see what exactly they're talking about. You throw in the added battery power, which is a much needed upgrade, and the new PlayStation 5 controller can be something fans enjoy, especially fans that are already fans of the design. But there's still one more bit of information that's really piqued my interest, and that's at the end of the article where they talk about some developers that are working on games for the next generation console as we speak. Here's what the article says. How game studios will use all these new features, from previously known ones like the SSD and ray tracing acceleration to newer ones like the controller and the real-time UI, is still a matter of some speculation. While a number of studios already had their PS5 dev kits, the controller prototypes began rolling out much more recently, and no one is ready to name the specific titles they're developing for the PS5. We're working on a big one right now, says Marco Thrush, president of Bluepoint Games, which most recently worked on last year's PS4 remake of the Shadow of the Colossus. I'll let you figure out the rest. Now, this to me is one of the biggest pieces of information because at the end of the day, we all love the consoles and hardware and all the technical talk, but all of the stuff is so these developers can create great gaming experiences for us to enjoy. And that's exactly what's happening right now as we speak. Bluepoint Games is creating a massive game that they're keeping under wraps, and we also know a bunch of other developers, especially first-party studios, that will create memorable games for this new console. And this will be the vocal point of the console when it releases next year. I want to hear about launch titles and upcoming titles because as of right now, we don't know anything that's launching with the PS5. While the Xbox has already announced Halo Infinite, which is the biggest game Xbox has in its first-party library. I'm hoping by E3 or even before E3 we hear about what matters most to these consoles, which is the games. But enough about what I think, tell me what you think about all of this. Are you excited about all this new PS5 information? Does the new SSD make you excited about what developers can create with the new consoles? Do you wish they made the controller a little different? What part of this information dump makes you most excited? What launch titles do you think will come with the new system? Go down below and let me know, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. Any support helps out the channel more than you know. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my videos. Also, follow me on Mixer. The link will be in the description. I recently started streaming on Mixer because I find the community a lot more engaging and fun. So if you want to hang out and chat with me, I'm very active with my chat and always playing games. I hope to see you guys there. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.